There are so many horses that have been taught by the human experience, because of their human experiences, to be so dysfunctional that they cannot eat without stress and have all kinds of gut imbalance. They cannot sleep and lay down because they are always in a highly anticipative defensive state, waiting for the next human experience. And so when they lie down, they're most vulnerable. So they don't sleep. So now they have sleep deprivation. There are many, many horses, even if they're not trauma and rescue, that you just see in general, that are completely defensive towards how humans are offering their communication, without the human ever considering that the way in which they're communicating isn't working and is triggering that horse to be in a fearful state, which then causes the body to carry tension, and his mind is always looking to flee, which means the body's always looking to get away. There are many horses, most horses in fact, are not born into, I'm going to say, a herd setting. And so this creates whatever the dam has experienced for their human experiences, they are then teaching their offspring. And there is also a lack of social skills that are developed because that horse is not raised in a healthy herd. Now, there are many herds that are created by humans out of convenience, out of whoever's at the boarding facility and whatnot, but it does not mean that it's a healthy herd. So I will get called out often and watch herds where there's all this chaos and they're constantly running around and there's stress time and squealing and kicking and charging and biting at feed time, and people go, that's just what horses do. No, it's not. So one of the things that I try and help people, recognize is that when we have this assumption that if we just put a horse out in the herd who has been through trauma, who lacks any ability, or as I say, horse skills, because the human has taken it out of them, they cannot function in that herd. You will see horses who are dysfunctional run straight into other horses. They will offer aggressive behavior. They'll run straight through fencing. They literally won't see what's in front of them because they're so mentally anticipative. They will cause havoc on the other herd members who are attempting to maybe lay down and sleep or eat or drink, because it's just always this mental chaos. And so it's a physical constant movement and has a trickle-down effect in the herd. So I'm all for helping the horse be the horse and trying to create, we'll say, as natural of a setting as we can despite our human influence. But the reality is we have to assess the individual horse. And, if more people started to say, instead of having a knee-jerk emotional response to, oh, it's a rescue, let it do this. Oh, it's a rescue, let it do that. Oh, it's been abused, let it do this. And go, does this horse have the skills to function in whatever setting I'm putting him in? And if the answer is no, then it's on the human to slow down and break down and teach the horse the skills in order to function in whether it's the horse or human world. So this was just something that has come up a lot, and an analogy I will leave you with is if you've ever met someone who has only lived in the city or suburbia, we'll say, and someone has a great idea, hey, let's go camping. And so they go, okay, I'll try it. They have no idea what they're in for. Someone else says, trust me, don't worry, I'll pack everything. It'll be great. We'll be in the mountains, we'll be in the woods, the wildlife, the clean air, it'll be wonderful. So it may sound like a good idea to that person who has been in city life or living in suburbia. But often, more times than not, that person who suddenly is in a new world and doesn't have any of the conveniences that they've learned to expect, and doesn't have the comforts or things that have created safety for them as they're exposed in the wilderness, can wind up having a pretty miserable time. So even though nothing bad happened on the camping trip, they can wind up having a feeling that they don't want to go back and participate in another round of camping if they don't have the skill set in order to operate in nature. And the same thing can be said vice versa. If you take a person who's used to country living and growing their own food and not going to town every day and working the land, and you suddenly drop them somewhere in New York City, they're going to be pretty overwhelmed pretty quickly, and they're going to be anticipative, they're going to be carrying tension, and they're not going to be able to make any good decisions for themselves, causing them to have a very uncomfortable feeling when they are in a situation that is not familiar. This is the same exact thing that happens for so many horses, is the human does not prepare them in order to put them in or ask of them whatever it is that the human has created. And then we wind up reprimanding them for their responses.